booth. Looking forward to this. We were sort of denied the grandstand finish we were looking for to yesterday with a late race yellow flag, full course yellow, that took us through to the checkered flag, but a very similar look to the grid, which was set in the same qualifying session, Nick, as the grid for yesterday.
Yeah, they used just the second. No, they used your second fastest time. So obviously you had to get a few quick ones in to get two fast ones in. The first and best was reserved for the first race. Your second fastest time, the second race, which was just left realistically a grid that's very, very similar, apart from a couple of cars who fell foul of regulations prior to the event, in fact, and got their times disqualified. So biggest sufferer is the Triple One car of Max Tubben, who doesn't have a second time, so he's starting at the back in the Silhouette GTR. But the rest of it's a very similar look to yesterday, and hopefully we'll get the whole hour with a very similar finish.
Explain the classes, Nick, if you wouldn't mind, because they are. We sort of said that there were four classes. You could say there was a couple more, but broadly speaking, there's a couple of prototype, there's a couple of substantive prototype classes, a couple of substantive GT classes with bits and pieces mixed in.
Yeah, I mean, it's got the same ethos, I believe, in preventing it. If you bring it, you can race it in something. But yeah, the prototypes consists of a couple of P3s, both the previous generation, one a Ginetta and one the car we're looking at right now, which is the Pegasus Racing Bright Blue Ligier with Julien Schell, who we obviously know quite well. And then a number of the fantastic CN cars, all Normas. There's 4 or 5 of them out there at the moment, and of course they proved to be the measure for the P3 cars in the first race. So interestingly, towards the back end of the race, it did seem perhaps the P3s are coming back, and we were speculating that was down to tyre wear, because of course they don't change tyres in this hour, and the CN cars do have much smaller wheels than the P3 machines. After that, we have, a GT division, which includes Lamborghini Super Trofeo, the resting place for the now obsolete Z4 GT3s. They've been replaced, by both the M6 and now the M4 in the BMW GT3 arena. And it covers the wet. So then we have the Supersport 1 division, which is basically run what you brung. It's got a Hyundai TCR. It's got 3 different types of M3 from the last 20 years, and a brand new M3 GT4. And then we have a Supersport division with a Radical. And then at the back we have a sport division, which is almost entirely full of Silhouette cars. So if you look at if you go down the back of the grid, you'll see that there's an awful lot of cars that look like a hybrid between a Z3 Coupe and a Z4. They are neither. They're not built by BMW. They're a space frame Silhouette, which luckily being Dutch is Silhouette, which makes it easy for us. And there's many of those, and they had a fantastic internecine scrap all the way through.
Did they ever?
But interestingly, the fact that we have a number of classes which seem very well balanced amongst themselves did lead, I thought, to some fantastic elements of the multi-class racing thing we love most of all, which is clumping, which caused a kerfuffle, certainly through the difficult Mercedes complex, as it is one line through there when there's 5 cars in 3 classes. It gets very confusing.
The track that we're running on is the now longest version of the Hockenheimring. We bemoan and mourn the loss of the run out into the country, but that's been gone for some time now. And in fact, that tarmac was dug up, so it could never be reinstated. So 17 corners, starting across the start-finish line with the very fast entry to the Nord curve, turn 1, then a little blast down to turns 2, 3 and 4. Getting out of that, give up turn 2 if you have to, sort yourself out in 3 and 4, because there's the long run down through the Parabolica, which isn't a corner at all, it's just a curving straight to the Spitzkehrer hairpin at turn number 6. Come up over a brow to that, and therefore you've got a very difficult braking area, and we did see the demise yesterday of one of the Normas that went into the wall there quite heavily. That was the 614 BS Racing by Badis Consult car, the Norma M20 FC, one of 3 in the CN category. From there, get the car around the hairpin, survive as much as you can, use the run-up if you have to, through the kink at 7, then drag yourself back across to the right-hand side of the road for 8, 9 and 10. That's, again, you're surviving through there. Then set yourself up for the Mobile 1 curve, the Mobile 1 curve at turn 12. That fast right-hander, very easy to get that wrong and just run off onto the grass or get spit off onto the right-hand side. And then you've got to slow it all down for the Sachs curve through 13, 14 and 15, little chicane. The second to last corner, I always think, is far more difficult than it looks. At 17, kind of opens out just a little bit, and that gets you back onto the start-finish line. So relatively short run to the finish line.
And not taking the start is the 614 car, which we saw had that big accident yesterday, John. So that car.
I'm just looking. Yeah, not your international Supercar Challenge powered by Hankook surprised face there, Nick.
No, it was all for, well, at least three of the corners. The only way that would have got back out there, they'd been able to borrow another car. So that's unfortunate. The driver did walk away, so I said it's just wallet damage, but that's not taking the start. Starting drivers for the shared cars have just been sent to me by the lovely people at Creventic. So some of these cars are shared, some of these cars are single drivers. So we'll probably bring those up when we actually get to talk about the cars. So I have got the starting drivers. The biggest problem being that on the timing screen, most of them are shared between brothers or family members, aren't they? So it has the same first name for both of them.
Nick, it's raining.
No, really?
It is. There's a bit of weather in the air, and I've noticed one or two cars with windscreen wipers cleaning the screen, and so this is going to be very interesting. I don't... This is what racing drivers would call... I remember Stuart Hall and I having a long discussion in the middle of the night in the 24-hour race at Silverstone about real rain and psychological rain. And Nick and I both ride motorcycles, and we are not very brave when it comes to any kind of spots on the visor. That's psychological rain. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're not getting grip. However, a lot of windscreen wiperage at the moment from all the cars. I can't see spray, and I don't see the surface of the track, Nick, darkening down just yet. But it is certainly wet, and we are, I think, going to get 2 warm-up laps here. Looking at the time, we're not due to go green until the top of the hour, and although on the timetable it says 1 formation lap, looks very much to me as if they're going to go for a second as they come through the Mobile 1 curve through into the Sachs curve and the arena section, normally packed full of 50, 60,000 being motorsport fans, but they at the moment there are 60,000 people there, but they're there for the International Camouflage Convention.
Oh, I thought it was the hide and seek championship.
Yeah, very good.
But no, interesting. I think the 2 laps of warm up is because it's just not very warm out there. I mean, if you were watching our coverage of the main event, which I'm sure you were in Creventic, you would have seen how Ben was holding on to that big heavy coat and wasn't even getting undone. He did the zip in the sunny areas, so it's obviously a bit chilly.
Safety car's got the wipers on as well, Nick, and that is an Audi Quattro.
But it's at the same time the sun's come out.
Yeah.
So it is absolutely, April showers a few weeks late, isn't it? We're getting this, we're having this for the last few weeks in the UK. It's just 4 seasons in 10 minutes. It'll either just go away, or it'll just literally, if it does rain, then there'll be an issue. Now, don't forget that this race does have a pit stop in it. It's a timed pit stop between the 25th and the 35th minute. But I don't think that if you come in for tyres after 2 minutes, that counts. So, yeah.
No, if they have to pit before that, they'll still have to pit for their mandatory stop. Or if they need to do it after that, obviously they will have to do it after that. It won't count. We did have somebody penalised for being not a lot late, actually, but in point of fact, Nick, that was your fault. # blame Nick, because you pointed it out, and Race Control did actually put on the Alcamel screen, on the time service.nl, by the way, live timing, get race results. .com if you want to keep up with what's going on. Did put up on the screen. Nick was right. 20-second penalty or whatever it was.
Yes, they'll be visiting it late at night with two heavies going. It costs us 20 seconds. That's very attractive.
What is,
a
Nick?
visual indication of the indicator boards, which often will show the code 60 or the yellow flag in a board rather than a flag, is now showing a little pretty animated graphic of raindrops. How sweet.
If this was a MotoGP race, there'd be a white flag with a red cross on it. And I was just thinking back to the MotoGP at Le Mans the other day. Towards the back of the field, was that what was the white prototype with the black
that was
on
the
it?
Seika.
That is the Seika. I saw that yesterday, and I meant to mention it yesterday. Doesn't that have a proper retro look of a BMW LMR V12 or something around that kind of era of Le Mans cars, 97, something akin to what Tom Christensen was driving at Le Mans in those days?
Good to know Seika are still going. Of course, we've seen the Seika a number of times in Creventic races trying to get their prototype with the big diesel engine. I think it was one of those 5-litre Volkswagen diesels they had in there. And whilst when it ran quite well. They had a huge problem keeping all the fluids in for more than about half an hour, didn't they? Remember?
Was that the Touareg?
It was a big old diesel engine in that Seika, but they've now, I think, gone for a slightly more lightweight option. Right, spin around the stadium, and hopefully they'll come to start because they want to get the temperature in the tyres, get this rain off the ground.
Well, what's interesting is the flashing lights on the Audi Quattro safety car are out, but the hazard flashes are still on. So is that an issue with the lights? No, it isn't. It's peeling off to the right-hand side. Oh, now, was there a bit of overlap before the safety car line there by the pole-sitting Ginetta? The blue car on the inside is the Max Aschoff Ginetta Nissan G58, and that will lead from the two Deldicia Racing Norma M20 FCs. The other light blue prototype is Julian Schell in the Pegasus Racing Ligier LMP3, but they've all got through. Very confusing to me is the fact that there's a Porsche experience day going on in the midfield, which appeared to be going contra race at various times. So there was a Porsche Targa there going in the wrong direction to the traffic, and I was sure there was no Porsches in this race. Meantime, further back down the field, the GT classes, the bright red and highlighter yellow i30N Hyundai TCR car in the mix down there at the moment. It is very good in the twisties, very good indeed in the twisties, perhaps not quite as quick in a straight line. The BMWs of various hue and E-number, they are very quick in a straight line. Now, White was still running on that Ginetta, side by side with the 611. Tom Boonen, Max Aschoff. They pick up where they left off yesterday, Nick, but they are battling for second position because the other of the team Deldicia Racing car has gone through. That's the Houston and Van Bellingham car has gone through to take the lead.
Yeah, I mean, he got through actually right at the top of the Einfahrt Parabolica. He slipped through, and we're seeing a kind of repeat of what we saw yesterday. It just seems that there is an ability for the non-LMP3 cars to just get going quicker, not just the two CN cars. It's an accident there coming out at the start-finish. I think a tangle between the 621 and then I think he got tagged by the Lamborghini, John, who's also showing early pace, that GT3 car. Well,
yeah, the 621 was up the road, so it must have been the 611 if there was a tangle between those two. So that would have been Boonen, and as Nick says, coming through the final corner onto the start-finish line, the sight of a black and blue Ginetta, and bruised in everywhere at the moment. Certainly the opportunity for that car to fight for the lead has been
misread that. It was 5-2-1, sorry.
5-2-1, my apologies.
Yeah. Which was, no, it was me. I missed the numbers of Aschoff, but Aschoff got tagged. The question is, did he get tagged by the Lamborghini or not? Because we only saw the end of that coming on the start-finish straight. And it is a three-corner choice of how you take that final corner coming in. He's walked away. Oh yes, the rear left is absolutely collapsed.
Yes, you're right, Nick. You're absolutely right. Nick Damon spotting that one. We've got the safety car, not a full course yellow, so this will bunch everybody up. So leading is the Houston and Van Bellingham Del Dice Racing CN. And that is the 621. Tom Boonen will go through in a second. Dan Mayer in third for the first of the GTs. So where's Bob dropped down to? Bob Herbert's still there behind Julian Schell. Peter Pozovec for Koopman Racing leads his teammate Bart Aronson in the 190 and the 206. So the dark grey Audi, what do we reckon that is? A4?
That's
or an
RS6. RS6 or
flat-sided RS6. Okay, I'll give you that.
Now, the interesting thing here, John, is the excellent start by the Boda Racing car of Dan Meyer, which one of the Z4 GT3s, which we didn't see at all feature yesterday, apart from at the start where one of them broke down. Now, I'm just wondering whether he's where he is, and I think he may have benefited from a kerfuffle after the 521 fell off the track or got hit off the track. I mean, it really is who hit him, because you don't lose a rear left just by, it's just fallen off. So someone clunked him. My guess is, with no evidence apart from my guess, it's the Lamborghini of Bob Herber. I think that the main winner out of that was that Z4 that just hopped through as the very disgruntled Max Ashoff sits back and goes, oh.
Well, it means you get free Sunday lunch a bit earlier, doesn't it? Except it's on the wrong side of the track, of course, so he can't even get back to the paddock.
Stuck there.
This is not going to be an easy fix either, Nick, if I'm honest, because it's going to need the lift from the ADAC flatbed, and that has arrived on the scene. So we're starting the race the way we finished yesterday in some respects. Well, the Lamborghini's still there, running in fourth position for Bob Herbert. The two Boda Racing cars, Dan Mayer ahead of him in the 107 in the BMW Z4 GT3. That is actually a battle, so they are GT class cars. So it is Dan Mayer that leads in that 107 BMW from Herbert in the Lamborghini Super Trofeo.
I think what I've noticed about this particular championship, if you've got a car that's there or thereabouts the same speed as another car in a different class, they're not too bothered about, are they? They're racing everything. I think the GT3s and the small prototypes are not too distant in their speed, so they're not letting them through. They are racing position every single time, even though they're not obviously directly racing in a class championship, which is quite nice to see. Really, they've kind of given themselves their own multi-class, but race with one winner in their minds.
So that's Nick Damon, I'm John Hindorf, and we are 5 minutes in, call it 6 minutes in now, to a 1 hour contest for the Dutch Supercar Challenge, powered by Hankook. Second race of the weekend. These little CN cars look a lot of fun, don't they?
Oh, yeah.
Really do look a lot of fun. I do like the LED light bars on the top. The front bodywork of these cars has what looks like a space for lights, and in fact the white with blue racing striped SR1 Radical does of course have headlights in it, but it appears at least that those CN cars have not got working headlights, but they have supplemented the ability to be seen by putting an LED light bar onto the rollover cage. Now I like that for two reasons. One, because actually they do have headlight ports. But I think the reason that they've put them there, and it will have an aerodynamic slight disadvantage, I think, but they are so low, Nick, so low, that when you are racing with GT cars and coming up the inside of them, I've got a feeling that you wouldn't necessarily be able to see them from turn into apex with those lights so low down. So putting it up on the bar effectively puts it in your eye line. And again, mentioning us as motorcycles, I've got a couple of Clearwater LED lights up under my rear view mirrors on the top of the mighty GT 1600, which gives you half a hope that somebody might see you and not think you're invisible.
Yeah, there was a good shot coming down the main straight a minute ago. And when you look at the footprint, or kind of the frontal area of that Z3, which is behind the two CNs, it is... Oh, there's a problem with one of the CNs.
That was the second place car. That was the second place car. That's the 611. That's Tom Boonen's helmet, isn't it? With that bright yellow on it. And that car has... Well, he's lost He's lost power, and he's trying to recycle it. The lights have gone off.
Lost all electrical power. Now, whether that is an issue of the running at slow speeds, or perhaps it has an alternator issue, but it's just died, and it died very suddenly. Luckily, the cars behind it managed to avoid him.
I did notice that he, in fact, did not have his LED light bar on, so I wonder if he's aware of that. I can't tell whether the running lights are still on that car, whether it's just catching the light round the
it's not.
The headlights nacelle.
It's got a lot of high vis there, but I don't think so. I think he's had an electrical problem, and he's either had a wire just come undone. He may well, as you said, suspected he perhaps had the equivalent of a charge light not illuminated. As we've seen so often in some of our older cars, and just can't get rid of it. And it's that's really bad luck. But that does open this whole race up now, because that's two of the absolute favourites out already. Perhaps we'll see a GT car win this. My favourite now is Julian Schell. I think that LMP3 car's got real pace at the back end of the race.
Right.
So he's going to be towed off by Q7. I'm happy with their service vehicles. They've got a lot of work this weekend.
Yeah. And it's raining properly now, Nick. I mean, it is actually coming down, so the open top car, you'll be getting wet in there. That's a good looking car. It's a great shape, that Seeker. Black and white, obviously not my two favourite colours, but particularly not at the moment. But that is a good looking car. It's low, it's svelte, it's wide. It does look like an old Le Mans prototype,
It's like an old T70 or something, isn't it?
Yeah, or maybe a bit less old than that, a bit younger than that, because it's not quite so curvy.
What was the blue and white car that won Le Mans in the early 70s with the green wheels?
That was the Pescarolo, you mean? Or the Matra, the Pescarolo.
The Matra, yeah, that one.
It puts me in mind of the sort of 80s and 90s cars. Like I say, the BMW V12 LMR, the one that Williams had a hand in designing, and one or two others as well, because it's got that sort of more squared off look. The 60s and 70s cars were always a bit more function over form, and they were a bit more curvy, whereas it got up into the 90s certainly, and the edges were squared off a bit and such like. And it's the big black headlamp areas on that, and I do think it's the black of the livery as well that sort of tricks the eye into that.
Just watching these two cars go around now, look at the frontal area and the visible area of that Z3. You can see why there's a light bar on the CM, because that CM was behind the BMW. He would not see it. He would not. That car is the rear view from that BMW is above the nose that the nose of that car. You probably might just in the rear view see the driver's helmet. That's it. So you can see why the light bar's there.
So we continue behind the Audi safety car, which Nick and I have decided is a RS6 Avant. Remind us, Nick, how long have we got to go before the pit lane opens? Because we are now getting to the area where we're still not seeing too much spray, but that is quite...
pit caller.
We've got a pit caller from behind the safety car.
That was the second place man. That was one I said. It was Dan Meyer. Now the pits. We've been running 12 minutes. The pits are not officially open till minute 25. However, of course, if he stops for wet tyres now, which won't count as his mandatory stop, he will join at the back of the queue and gain the advantage that way.
Now, what Hankook tyres have come out? Wets have come out for that car, whilst the hobbled Nissan-powered G58 Ginetta is back in, well, adjacent to the Parc Fermé area.
The interesting, of course, his loss of time for doing that is just the run down the pit lane. It's not the actual changing the tyres, because of course the other cars need to change the tyres when they come in for the mandatory stop. So it's an interesting gamble. He's gambling.
It puts him on the rain tyres earlier, because this is a safety car and not a full course yellow. Once he gets out, he should be able to hustle round, get a bit of heat in those wet weather Hankooks, and fling it onto the back of the line. And at that point, it should be happy days. but we're going to go green fairly shortly because the 611, Tom Boonan's car, is back in the pit lane, courtesy of the Four Rings of Ingolstadt.
Now he's still in the pit, according to he's out now, so he hasn't lost a lap.
Dan Meyer.
Dan Meyer. He's got a long way. He's got to spin around quickly, and the safety car's in this lap, so this isn't going to work. He's not going to get round on the back of it because they're going to be in a few corners.
I don't know, mate. They're only at the hairpin. They're only just coming down to the hairpin and out of it. So,
all right, they're about to enter the stadium section. I thought they're coming out of the stadium section.
Yes.
No, they're coming in. They're coming in.
Yes, coming into the stadium section now. And Dan's already through and onto the parabolica, so he'll be able to see the back of the queue, and he'll want to hustle up a little bit. The safety car lights are out, so get ready. We're going green. Everybody except the 107 is on slick Hankook tyres, and the 107 is trying to... Now, somebody needed to tell Dan that this is not a code 60, this is not a full course yellow. He could hustle up to the back of those cars, and he's not really pushing round on his outlap at all, and might be a little bit of tactical naivety here as the Deldici Racing number 621 is heading round to a green flag and gets a huge jump on the field. Bob Herber still having his morning coffee, his afternoon, maybe an afternoon break there. He's got the latte out. He's way back. Third position for Julian Schell in the blue Pegasus Racing Ligier. Behind that, it's the Koopman Racing black BMW. That's the 191. Peter Posevec, and big slide for one of the GT cars. That's the 245. That's the Vandenberg hard as Plaza car, which I read as hard as pizza every time I see it. Every time I see it, but it's hard as Plaza.
There's much less grip out on the green outside the curbing on the Nord curve. And the leader spun.
The leader has gone around as well. So that means that Bob Herbert for Border Racing leads for the GT Lamborghini.
The problem is that Dan Meyer, after that stop, is 40 seconds behind. So as you said, he should have really got a hustle on because that's what he's not giving himself the benefit. Now, there's a TCR overtaking a P3, which makes me think that the P3 is having an absolute nightmare getting any heat or any grip at all. Because TCRs don't tend to overtake P3s. The Hyundai goes up through to the complex, and this is a very tippy toe around the exit to the hairpin.
These guys are now trying to get to their pit stop, so what we need to keep an eye on is the 107. Dan Mayer, obviously...
8 minutes, John.
8 minutes, okay. Obviously, he is just coming around to the back of the field because he didn't close up, but this looks treacherous at the moment. My kind of conditions this. I'll tell you a car to watch out for, the i30. The i30 with front-wheel drive. Now, you know, it's difficult. Bob Herbert's doing exactly the right thing and staying way off the racing line. Yeah, out to the karting wet line. But the i30 here, at least you can feel the front end. Julian Schell really struggling because he's not getting up to speed in the Pegasus Racing Ligier, the light blue prototype. And that means that he's not using the downforce, he's not getting the tyres heated up, because that'll be the other thing. The Hankooks, the slick tyres, they wouldn't be bad if it was a little bit damp, but of course they've not got them up to heat yet because they've not really had any full-speed racing laps.
Yeah, they're behind the safety car. It's a worse scenario. You're on a slick tyre, then you have 5 laps behind the safety car whilst it rains. The fact they are now picking up a little bit makes you wonder whether I think they will now be able to pilot themselves round for the next 8 minutes or so to the pit stops. But it's even the case that is it actually still raining?
Hard to tell.
They're getting on with it, and it's not. They haven't got that super darkening anywhere. Wipers are still going, but that could be for any number of reasons.
Well, because you don't know where to turn them off once you've turned them on. That's the other thing. It's a drive back then for the erstwhile leader, the Deldici Racing CN team car, still in the pits for Tom Boonen after what appeared to be a complete loss of electrons rather than fire in the engine, although one could beget the other, I suppose. Certainly if there's no electrons, you're not going to have any fire, are you? The uppy downy poppy bangy bits don't work without the little
sparky
electrons
bits.
without the
Well,
sparky bits.
Unless it's a diesel, of course.
Well, fair point, well made. Where's the
Look at him
107?
go.
Dan Mayer. Dan Mayer,
Overtaking
absolutely,
6 cars at once.
absolutely carving his way through in the black BMW with the M-style stripes on. M-style stripes which never make a car look worse. Carves down the inside of a couple of the silhouette cars, and he's already pushing up in mid-teens. Comes up to the RCF Cup car, the Peugeot, the RCZ Cup car, sorry, that's the number 401. That was in 14th position, not anymore. So that gamble paid off. It would have paid off more if he'd hustled round on his outlap a bit more. Maybe he was a little worried about being pulled for going too quickly. But his last lap then, even through traffic, was a 58.6. The leaders are doing 2 minutes. 2 minutes 11, actually.
I don't think it's wet enough.
Well, that'll come to an end quickly. But as you said, Nick, he's still got to do his regular stop anyway. So it was almost a no-brainer. Let's see what the advantage for him is, that he can go offline in that car. That's the thing that you notice. Dan Mayer in the Border Racing now up to 13th position and carving his way through the field despite being through traffic. He's 5 and 6 seconds quicker a lap than the leaders, even though he's going through traffic, and he's only 20 seconds behind, 30 seconds behind the leaders. So it doesn't take a genius to work out that he'll be on them very quickly. Now what he needs to do now is stay out as long as he can on those tyres, Nick, because what he needs to do is assess what the weather's doing. He's given himself an opportunity here to make up ground to the leaders, and they'll be deciding. They've got the decision to make. What tyres do they put on when they come in, and that happens fairly shortly.
Yeah, but we're on he's just on a 25.9, which was in not much traffic, and at the front 2 or 3 of the cars have gone quicker in the dry on a sector time. So I think
wait for the full lap, mate. Wait for the full lap.
Well, Bob Herbert, but Bob Herbert, we just seen in the Lamborghini, it's now already skewing the wet line and going back to the dry line.
Okay.
So and the track's not giving me any indication it's getting any wetter. So also Bob's windscreen wipers are off.
Well,
Herbert, who's leading this race.
Here's the other thing, though. We know
52 best lap.
Wet. Right. Okay. So 52.3. However, wet weather tyres for a while, softer compound, they're still not going to do you any harm until you start losing the tread blocks and they start moving around. So the 107 now comes across the line and has now made it all the way up into what position? 10th as he goes across the line? 11th. 11th position.
54.03 is a problem for one of the 461 silhouette cars. It's also, it appears to have run out of motive force.
Yeah, hard to
which
tell.
That's Mark Jobst in one of the silhouette, I think, arrive and drive machines. Now,
he's got the door open straight away, so he knows that is fairly terminal. Now he's well off the track on the far side of the circuit. All right, I still think that it was worth the gamble, as we have a yellow flag. Oh
no!
107, 30-second time penalty. Well, I said he was a little conservative coming round his warm-up lap, but not coming out of the pits. He straddled the white line on the pit exit, and that is a no-no. The blend line is a brick wall, and that's a 30-second time penalty. Disaster. Disaster for Dan Mayer.
So annoying.
What a shame.
So annoying when you do it. So annoying. And it's just, you're hyped up. You want to catch up. You want to get going. Yeah, you're rejoining a race when there's no cars around. Obviously, he was. He can complete, and you just forget a basic, and they snap you for it. And it's like you go, "Oh, come on! I've lost enough."
It's an absolute. Let's check the battles further down the field in the GT category. BMW Z4 leading the Hyundai number 202. And they're well up the field, aren't they, at the moment?
Just to show you how dry it is getting, Bob Herbert just went round in a 49.9, qualified in a 43.5, so say race pace is 45, so it's getting close to being dry.
That's a pass for the lead last time around for the Koopman Racing 206. in SSP1, and the FIBO Racing team Hyundai had been in the lead there, and that has just switched around last time around. 202, the Hyundai, the multicoloured car, has dropped down to second, and the BMW pulling away now in the lead. Now, so that, certainly, go ahead, sorry.
That BMW certainly appears to have what could be described as more of a homemade rear wing, doesn't it? It looks like something you got off a kind of a set of plans and a copy of Max Power back in the 80s. Yeah, build your own BMW rear wing using just the 4x2, because it's very, very big.
I don't know about that, actually. I think you might be being a bit unkind there.
No, have you seen it? It's a massive thing. It's 2 bits of scaffolding with a bit of a wing across the top of it. I mean, it may well be it's an approved accessory, but if you look at the delicateness of the other wings with their swan necks and their light mounts.
We've got a battle for second. 202 struggling a little bit for rear grip, it seemed there. And lets the 245 Hardest Plaza car go through. That's the dark red and black machine. And that's BMW first and second now.
And we are 45 seconds from the pit window being open, John. So these guys won't be able to pop in just now, even if they wanted to.
Change for the lead as well. The Deldici Racing CN car, having spun from the lead, as soon as it started to dry up, has hunted down Bob Herbert, dropped 3 or 4 places at least, and Julian Schell's LMP3 Pegasus Racing car is coming back to life. So new leader with a fastest lap as well further down the field.
Nearly the 145 that time round. Bob Herbert had a slow lap, dropped a couple of seconds. That's probably because he jumped out of the way of a fast recovering CN car.
Tim Jewson driving that car and has put the fastest lap in the 145 too. That was a stunning lap by the CN car, and Tom in that car at the second meantime, elegantly carving its way around the circuit. If only it was red and white, it would be even quicker. Pit window is open with 3 exclamation marks, so just to make sure everybody is absolutely certain what is going on. So who jumps first? Dan Mayer now dropping back down through the field as his Hancocks have given their best. They were the wet weather tyres. I'd expect to see him in next time around, Nick, and get on to a new set of rubber. Now the problem is there that he has to change rubber while nobody else will, but at least it will mean he's got a new set of Hancocks on, or a slightly better set of Hancocks perhaps than those around him, as the 2 BMW Silhouette cars are battling side by side, bright yellow and the silver. That is a battle for position in behind the RCZ Peugeot. They're going down to the hairpin at turn 6, the 401 then leading
eased him out.
That class. And that's the 469 of Jan-Berry Drenth and Mark Varinga in the 410, having the battle for second and third in those classes.
Yeah, I mean, my feeling is that you go in as late as possible now. I mean, obviously, if you're sharing a car, you need to go in pretty halfway house to share the car. But if you're on your own, you go in as late as possible because it gives you more time to work out if there's any more weather coming. I mean, it does look like it's brightened up. It is going to be dry now, and the cars are producing the grip of the dry. The problem, obviously, for the 107 car of Dan Meyer is he's got a 30-second penalty as well to serve. So he's effectively made a gamble, didn't work. But it's significantly worked less because he's got that penalty as the Hyundai comes in, which has had a weird period. It's ebbing and flowing its pace, and the driver of the 202 gets out, and I can actually tell you who it is getting out and who's getting in. So getting out is Dennis de Borst of the 202, and getting in will be Stan van Oord.
So still that battle for second in class. And that is the SSP class, isn't it? That are having their scrap.
It's down back in the pits, and another set of tyre changing. I think, is he doing the 30 seconds? Yeah, they're doing the 30 seconds now. They can't touch the car, wait for 30 seconds, and then they'll put the dry tyres and they'll try and pick up the pieces. But there's going to be very few pieces to pick up because he's behind, and unfortunately, of course, he's got a 30-second penalty. Add to the problems of the gamble, the tyres not coming off.
I think it was a reasonable gamble. I'll be honest, it could have won him the race. It could have won him the race. He's driving on his own, so it's not as if he's inconveniencing a teammate either. Still, those two BMWs, and they are BMWs actually. I misspoke earlier on. Bob Herbert in the pit lane. In the
Don't forget the pit stops in this championship are timed. You have a set period of 1 minute and 18 seconds, and you have a success stop added to it. So you won the previous round, you can have anything up to another 25 seconds added to the stationary period.
Hyundai's in the pit as well from the lead of SSP2, and he was up to 6th position overall.
Yeah, so you haven't got to get out the car, so you haven't got to run around the car like you do in some championships if you're on your own.
Don't like that.
You stay in the car, you wait the time. If obviously you have a two-driver car, you will swap over the drivers. You're not supposed to change tyres, but down obviously because of the changing weather conditions, which we saw indicated it officially wet by that indicator board. You are then at that point allowed to change tyres in a fully dry race, unless you're driving a Porsche, of which there are none in this field. You aren't allowed to change tyres at those stops. But so you wait there.
Even if it's wet.
No, you can be wet. If it's declared wet, you can change tyres, but in the dry, you can't change tyres.
Ah, right, okay, I see.
Unless you've got a Porsche, which no one has.
Right, okay. I see. Sorry, yes, I see what you mean. I took that the wrong way around. All right, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th behind the.
Leader coming in.
In fact, no, that's 1st, 2nd, and 3rd now, isn't it? It's Bert Aronson, then the Vandenberg Hardest Peter BMW, then Hein Koopman is in there in 4th in the GT class. So those three aren't actually the 3rd of those BMWs. I think is not for position. 1st and 2nd in SMP. No, it's not right by the timing screen. I'm not sure that we're getting the full picture from the timing screen, so I'm going to go with what I can see. And what I can see, Nick, is the Tim Hewson
getting out.
Del DT racing car is in the pits and Tim is out of it.
And Steve Van Bellingen is getting in. A little bit of fuel for the GT3s. The CN cars don't take fuel. They're not refueled in this particular hour-long race, but they do refuel a number of the other cars from a variety of methods. This is the basic churn from Halfords, but we've also got some with the hand-cranked fuel pump as well. I think that's the reason why a number of the mechanics are actually in fireproofs, and of course for safety there's a man standing right by with a fire extinguisher. So let's get this. You've got to put fuel in the car to make it as safe as possible.
Get the last drops in, lads. You never know, might be important. What? Don't. There we go.
They had an airlock for a bit then, didn't they?
Yeah, they did a bit of a wiggle. Always a bit of a wiggle, I think.
They have to wait, of course, for that time to run out, because they have a time pit stop. You can do what you can do during that time. And away goes the Z4 GT3. Good to see those machines still being used after being effectively retired from front-end GT3 racing, about 3 years ago now, isn't it?
Glorious sounding cars. They were allowed to use an engine that they never had, of course, in the street. They were allowed to use the V8, weren't they? As a effectively a performance balancing attribute, because BMW didn't think they could do enough with what I think is the more elegant solution, which is a straight 6 engine. I do like a straight 6. And BMW's straight 6 engine has been the benchmark for such a long time. And
I once owned 2 cars that both had a 4-litre straight 6, and neither was a BMW.
Jeep Cherokee.
Yep.
4-litre straight 6. Jaguar of some description?
No, it was a TVR.
Ah?
TVR, the engine was actually terrible. It was marvellous when it worked, but it was like a 1960s Ferrari in the fact it never stayed in tune. But when you got it back from the factory and they just sorted out all the valve clearances and tuned it up, it was lovely for at least 500 miles.
But in fact, being a TVR, that was probably twice as far as it could reliably go. So you get a
no. In fairness, nothing ever went wrong with that car apart from the engine. Now that sounds like a bigger part, but the only part was it went out of tune. Ridiculously often, which you don't expect in a car from around about the year 2000.
So the pit stop cycle in full effect at Hockenheim, second race of the weekend for Dutch Supercar Challenge. And so scored in the lead before he came in, the 111 of Max Tubben, who started all the way at the back. So yes, I know that various things have happen, but that white 111 silhouette car, Zeoette car, the GTR, now leaves the pit lane.
Is it? I don't want to cause trouble, but do BMW not get worried about their copyright on these?
No,
but
haven't we seen this before with other manufacturers? Mark Cars in Australia did a Ford Focus alike, a Mazda 3 alike.
Oh, the Mazda 3 alike, yeah, absolutely. That was
both on the same space frame, and then the coupes, the Mark Cars coupes, there was a Mustang. But it wasn't a Mustang, it was Mark Cars Coupe. We've seen, strangely enough, another BMW alike in the...
who was that?
In Dubai 24 Hours.
Yeah, with an early was it one of the early Vortexes?
The
early Vortex were silhouette cars, weren't they?
Yes, with variously V6 or V8s in the middle of those cars, but with a body thrown around them, and there was a BMW. Was there a Peugeot version of that as well, or am I making that up? I seem to think there was two different body shells.
There were a couple of... No, you're absolutely right. Early on, there were several. Yeah, I mean, it's a weird situation, but I mean, I suppose it's in some way imitation is a serious form of flattery, and they're not actually directly selling a car against a BMW race car, because the person who buys a little space frame silhouette is not in the market for any of BMW's racing machines. So it's perhaps just a bit of free publicity in some way. So now comprehensively in the lead is Steve Van Bellingen in the 621.
When you say comprehensively, we are talking 10.5 seconds to Peter Pozzovac, who's driving solo for Cooperman in second in the number, as I shade my eyes from the light behind the timing screen, in the 191. And that is one of the actual BMW Z4 GT3s. And he is leading, of course, in the GT class. Julian Schell has come through to third position in the Pegasus Racing blue car. And we've got a battle in SSP1, as once again, it's the BMW versus the 202 TCR Hyundai. And the 202 i30N wins that wee battle.
It's Stan Van Ord now in that very standout, really, isn't it? It's a different looking car and a different looking colour scheme, but that car's been ebbing and flowing throughout the first 35 minutes, isn't it? It looked quick, and then it looked really good as it got the heat in the tyres when it was on slicks in the wet, and then it faded back before the pit stop, and now it's just going for it again as the pit window officially closes. Has everyone stopped? Looks like it. But yeah, I mean, it seems to have very inconsistent speed, but when it's quick, it's very, very quick, that Hyundai.
I think the TCR concept is brilliant. I do. I think it's doing for touring car racing what GT4 and GT3 have done for Grand Touring and endurance racing. They also make very good endurance racing cars. That was kind of by accident. I don't think that was ever meant to happen, but that is a byproduct of manufacturers building racing cars. Two more BMWs side by side in the SSP1 category, and the dark red and black car makes up the position. That is the hardest Peter car. Now that's the two Van der Bergs in that car, so the E90 takes that position. 245 then.
Yeah, Benjamin's in the car now.
Right.
Yep, Robert started it, but you say two BMWs, but all the BMWs in that class are subtly different versions or different ages or different...
Well, it's just gone past Remco de Bus in the E46 M3, which he's driving solo. That's the grey with the red accoutrements on it. It's a BMW fest, isn't it? It's a bit like, you know, that lovely, my favourite race of the weekend, other than the 24 hours, at the Nürburgring 24 hours, is what they brilliantly call the Youngtimer race, which is a 3 or a 4 hour race on either the Friday afternoon, or it sometimes has been on race day morning. And there is an example of every single racing BMW that's ever been put out by the Bavarian firm in the last 35 odd years. The compact 318s, every model of M3, 4 doors, 3 doors, 2 doors, one man and his BMW. I mean, it's extraordinary. along with various other things that you don't normally see, including the Audi 50 Cup cars that keep turning up. What's an Audi 50, I hear you ask? Well, when the
Volkswagen Polo.
Volkswagen Polo, when it first came out, never came to the UK, only went to certain parts of Europe, but Audi had a Volkswagen Polo.
80-something?
Yeah. And there was a one-make cup for them. And those cars that we see at the Nürburgring Nordschleife are cup cars. Do you see what you mean about
Thank you.
Bart Aronson in the BMW? It's not so much the wing, it's the wing mounts on the back of the 1 Series BMW number 206. So a GTR 1 Series in a beautiful shade of dark metallic blue with lighter accents on the car. And being the 1 Series hatchback, they've had to find a slightly more innovative way of fastening the wing on, but keeping it where the wing works. And they've done that with a bit of their own CAD, I think. Is the Seeker going slowly? Yes, it is.
Going slowly, yes.
That's the Johan Cran Motorsport car, third in SSP2, and that's the 2 Van Dams in that car. It has made its pit stop.
I think one of the reasons you get so many BMWs is not just because BMW have done a fantastic job in the motorsport world, but people have taken so I want to convert a road car, and they go, well, what road cars can I get which are reliable, solid, and and rear wheel drive?
Yes.
And you end up with the BMW, because often also BMW are obviously very fond of putting a large engine at the front of a small car, which makes them a good basis for racing. So people will bastardize their own 106s and their 1 Series and 3 Series and 4 Series. Of course, don't do it with the 2 Series. Of course, that is the first front-wheel drive BMW, which we don't want to talk about because it's not natural. What BMW shouldn't do that.
Some 1 Series are now as well. They share the same. It's the mini platform.
Mini platform. I mean, I'd be very upset if I bought my BMW and found out it was front-wheel drive. I must admit. Have a serious word with the salesman, that's for sure.
It does open the opportunity for them to produce a TCR car, which by regulation has to be front-wheel drive. And I had a long chat with some automotive friends of ours and asked why there'd never been a BMW TCR car, a BMW Mini TCR car, and the answer was that BMW, the parent company, didn't want to have a touring car that wasn't a BMW, and therefore they were waiting for that platform to become available, because BMWs, you think of BMWs as GT cars, yes, latterly, but also absolutely European touring cars, world touring cars. And how many times have we had at various Le Mans down the years in the track? Hang on, BMW in GT. BMW is not really a GT; it's a touring car. What constitutes a GT? What constitutes a touring car? That kind of debate. Well, BMW do see themselves very much as a touring car manufacturer, although one of their cars at the moment, a Z4 GT3 in the hands of Peter Pozovec, is leading the GT category and keeping Julian Schell in sight, although I think they've lost a lap.
Julian Schell's just moved into second place, so he's just taken it. It hasn't been scored yet because they've got the end of the lap. He's just gone past it to second place. He's picked up the pace as he did in the back end of the first race. Unfortunately, rather than being 4 or 5 seconds behind the leader, he's still, as they crossed the line last time, about 19 seconds off, which is just too far. I think with 18 minutes to go.
Gotta love 19 seconds is the gap between first and second, but he was, even with the traffic there, he was still running at roughly the same time as the leaders. 24-hour series for later, and this is a note to Johnny Palmer and Joe Bradley, who'll be starting our coverage across the RSL network of video and audio channels, has been declared dry. So part 2, 5.5 hours to complete the Hankook 12 hours of Hockenheimring, that has been declared dry at this stage. But hey ho, the weather we've had recently, that could all change. And Shell then set, spin right behind Shell. It's the SR1 Radical. That's the Greenhoff car. 305 at the hairpin. Tricky. I did say that was a tricky braking area. No ABS or traction control on the Radical sports cars. It's your backside and your feet and your hands that tell you what's going on with those cars. Fantastic, fantastic. Euro for euro, pound for pound, dollar for dollar. So,
good looking car, that Lamborghini.
I think if you're a certain age, and we are, those cheese wedge, we've only got a ruler designs of Lamborghini that
I've done that car
since since the Countach back in the day, and the big Athena poster of the white Lamborghini Countach with all the big wings on. Marcello Gandini, one of Marcello Gandini's finest. Those cars, I think, for people of a certain age, as I said, and we're in that bracket, they are tremendously evocative of cars we knew we would never be able to afford.
Yeah, I mean, I think they look good in the bright greens and the bright oranges. That's quite a clever little sectional colour scheme. Quite simple, quite easy to do, but looking good on Bob Herber's car. Excellent pace in this 111 white Silhouette.
It's the car that started at the back.
Yeah, he has run the way through after having only one time. He lost his other time due to an infringement, believe it or not, during practice. He went too fast during a full course yellow in practice. It was incredibly frustrating, but he's absolutely flying the 111.
401 Tracks Racing Team in the RCZ Cup, and that car leading its category at the moment, and just being passed by one of the BMWs. That is that a pass for position there?
No, that was one of the GT3 cars.
Right. Okay. Fine.
There's so many of them looking very similar, but that was a GT3 car.
They do it just to annoy us, I think. Johan Kran Motorsport 305. Despite that spin,
looks like a little toy, doesn't it? Looks like a little toy compared to these cars.
It
so
does.
Small.
It does look like a little Hot Wheels car. Do like the German flag on the wing end plates. That's what wing end plates are for. To put identifiers on, put your national flag on. If you've got two cars in the same team, one of them should be blue and one of them should be red, or one of them should be yellow, one should be green, and they've got the German flag on one side and the
Swiss.
white cross of Switzerland, Hop Suisse. I still feel contractually obligated because of my dear departed mother-in-law, Swiss mother-in-law, to say Hop Suisse when I say that. That's what it's for, not for adding bits of aero on. This is a full international effort. Dutch team, UK driver who lives in Germany. So there you go. Drivers, yes. Driving pairing. So absolutely extraordinary. And with the German flag on one side and the Swiss cross on the other, that may be just for ease of travelling through borders, of course. We never know with that.
Yes.
It's a bit like the James Bond flippy...
yes, number plates, which we all want. We all want that. And of course, it's available on the new...
On the recreation.
Recreations. Of course, those cars aren't officially road legal, are they?
No, they're not.
Weird. But they're not road legal because they're counted as new cars and don't meet safety regs. Modern safety regs. That's why you can't drive them.
But one of those rotating plates were, of course, was a Swiss plate, wasn't it?
Yeah.
On there, the Toblerone plates, as they were, with three. It's very clever how the guys at Aston Martin Works have managed to get some of the devices, all of the devices working, except the ejector seat. They do make a point that the ejector seat put in is there.
And the machine gun isn't working actually either officially.
Well, no, it does flash though.
Not shooting bullet, no.
Yeah, it does flash.
Saka
in the pits, so a problem for that very, very, I think, very, very pretty. And
we could have a race on here, you know, John.
I think we do. Still,
we've got just under 13 minutes to go, and it's now 13 seconds for Julian Schell. When he gets a clear lap, he makes 4 seconds. A lap last time he only made about a second. We saw him on the picture overtaking 2 other cars. So if he can get his head down that P3, which is now I think up to temperature and work, Houston Van Bellen could well have a challenge by the last lap.
I've been asked by our producer, Tim, up in London, what about the smoke screen? Yes, that does work. There is a smoke generator and the oil slick, although it's coloured washing up liquid that comes out instead. But remember, they aren't road legal. Battle in SSP2 for first. The 360 M3 BMW and that SR1 Radical, so they're having a scrap. It does look as though if the Greenhoffs could get any closer, you could actually put that car in the boot of the M3. It is tiny. Absolutely tiny, and getting a huge tour, I'm sure, from the BMW. In fact, if the second of the Greenhoffs driving that car could get a little bit closer, he could possibly even throw a bungee cord out of the car and get a real tour, not just an aerodynamic one. Meantime, GT's a go-go coming into the stadium section, and Bob Herbert driving on his own today. Where's he dropped down to?
Third.
Fourth position in the Border Racing car last time around.
Scored third on the timing tower, though. Oh! That was nasty.
What was?
The Radical going round there.
Was that a touch? Where is that on the track?
I think so, yeah. That's just going through 789.
Right.
Going for us to the Mercedes section.
So that was that battle for second.
Yeah,
first and second, rather.
Yeah, he just leant on the nose and went round, unfortunately.
I think was that not at 16 and 17? That looked like to be coming through to the end of the lap. I thought I saw hash marks on the road.
I think that was the 789 complex, but sometimes the camera angle's a little bit confusing.
SR1 is what number? Radical SR1
305.
Ah, yes, you were absolutely right. I was wrong. It's just coming to the end of the lap now, that car on the tracker. 10 and a bit minutes to go. Not very technical, that I know, but that's all you're getting at this stage. 0.3 of a second only taken from the leader. Julian Schell has.
Disappointing. Yeah, come on, Steve. Let's just have a bit of a wobble and lose a few seconds to make it exciting for us.
Well, we were, as I said, denied the excitement of the grandstand finish we were expecting in race 1 earlier on. 469, that bright yellow and blue. Now that is one of the silhouette cars. There is a numbering system here. Jan-Barry Drenth in that car is 4th in the S category. He's only half a second behind Mark Veiringa. So has he just gone by Mark? Yes, he has. That's Mark's silver car behind him. Mark was on the podium yesterday. Looks like he's going to have to fight back in the next 9.5 minutes if he's going to get back there. So that's a position made up. Oh, lovely drift. That, I think, now is 3rd position for that 469 when we see it come across the line. The black BMW 191. That's the Peter Puzovac Cooperman Racing BMW Z4 in GT. And he is running a very solid 4th, and he's still only 2nd in his class, but he's trying to close down the leader. He lost a lot of time on Bob Herbert last time around. Bob's really got the bit between his teeth here in the last third of the race, Nick.
Yeah, I mean, the car we've got looking at now, which is the Peter Puzovac car, that's got a nice lead over the 111 fellow Z4 GT3, which started at the back. Max Tuman, though, has got the most overtake so far. He's got up 20 positions from his starting position, but unfortunately he's still 14.5 seconds behind. And that little kerfuffle of rain, not rain, rain, not rain has unfortunately split some very close racing apart. And it's interesting that Steve Hearn gets absolutely in the Del Dici Racing CN got the hurry up now, because he's matching Julian Schell to within half a second or so each lap, which is going to mean that Schell's going to run out of time before he can use the power and grip of the P3 to actually overhaul that CN as we go past the Seika that's just done a rolling lap and going back in the pits again. So the 307, the white and black Seika, let's call it what it is. The Newcastle United supporting Seika is having a problem, John.
No, it would be more stripy if it was the barcodes. I think it's a bit more possibly Fulham, white and black, because it's more white than black, isn't it? Maybe Derby County. Oh no, they're blue, aren't they? Not black.
They're
Julian Schell trying to chase down the leaders. What was his last lap time? Yes, took some time out, but it's only 6/10. It's not enough. It's not enough. That is a very, very good looking car, that Ligier. They got the body shape right with that Ligier. The concave nose always the giveaway for the Ligiers. And they managed to do something which is relatively unusual with prototype cars, in that whether it's a standard colour or a solid colour, should I say, like that all blue one, or something a bit more, dare I say, fussy in the livery department, they still tend to look good.
Yeah, I mean, and it was the ultimate thing. It was also very successful, that version of the. We have obviously moved on in the Premier Championships to our next generation of P3s, but that car obviously campaigned extensively by United Autosports, who were the importer, of course, for Lido for a while in the UK. But they've got a lot of success.
Championship, didn't they? Won the ELMS for 2, possibly 3 years on the bounce, and. There's a new LMP2. These 2 silhouette cars still scrapping it out. That's why people come and do that. This is still with the last 6 minutes to go, down to turn 6. The Spitzkeller hairpin.
Supercar's doing over and under.
Yeah, he's got him. This is why people come and race this. It's great fun. Still side by side, nothing in it through turn 7. Very close. This is great racing. Great respect being shown by the 410 Mark Veringer and Jan Berry Drenth. I said that if Mark wanted to be on the podium, he was going to have to fight back. Well, he's obviously had the radio on and listened to us, hasn't he? And he has fought back, and he's now back into 3rd place. This is the battle for the last spot on the podium in the S class.
And that was your typical 8-corner pass. That was.
Unbelievable.
Great driving, but really good driving by both guys there, because that could have been. They hadn't even exchanged 1 gram of paint. They just kept a respectful distance apart, raced as hard as possible, but eventually the Silver Machine won out over the green and blue.
As you said, arrive and drive rent-a-car racing type of thing. Maybe they didn't take the collision damage waiver. That's why they're. Oh, big slide, from the bright yellow car. And that's Jan Berry Drenth who got a bit of a weave on there coming out of the final corner. But I tell you what, he's taken good speed through turn 1 and down into turn 2. Slightly different rear end treatments on those 2 cars, but they are running in the same class, and they are these 2.5 silhouette cars. Oh, now torturing the rear Hancocks from Mark. This is great stuff. Under 5 minutes to go. Whilst this goes on down towards the hairpin again, I'll finish my thought that I started at this lap the last time around. We're about to see a new generation of LMP2 cars come out, which means a whole load of current LMP2 chassis are going to become available. Down the inside, here's Jan. He comes from a long way back. Oh, Mark left the door open. Left the door open. That was fair. Hello, I'm just going to give you an invitation here. I've had it nicely inscribed, bit of gold leaf. There you are. Oh, thank you very much. I will come through. After you, Claude. Or in this case, after you, Jan.
Was that 410 of Mark, I think he felt the thing was getting away from him, so he decided to just back out, because he came in very, very hard into that corner, obviously, because he knew he had to defend. And I think he went, this is not quite right in mid corner. And so he backed out and concentrated on the exit, which however he's got straight back on the tail of Jan Berry Drenth again, and they're going to continue their battle through the stadium sections. They go through the Mobile 1 curve.
Windscreen wiper back on by Mark in the silver.
It's going very fast. I think he might have knocked that in his excitement.
Inside-outside manoeuvre into the Sachs curve. Tries to get around the outside. Racing room being given. This is very fair indeed through 14 and 15. The 410 on the inside will get the curve next time around. Oh, just ushered him off to the outside the track through 16 and into 17. Big slide again by Mark. Now, that is a typical error that you make as an inexperienced driver, is that you've tightened the corner to give the guy on the outside room. You can't go back to the throttle in the same place. You have to, you've got more lock on, so you've got to be more gentle with the throttle. Otherwise, exactly what happened there, the back end brakes traction, the Hancocks are brilliant, and I know because I've raced them in the 24-hour race, but they cannot overcome the laws of physics. They are good, but they are, they're not anti-Newton-esque.
Yeah, they were lucky actually going through the link between the Sachs curve and the Sud curve, because Mark fell off the side of the curb. Normally that he would just have gone straight into the side of Jan Berry, but luckily there was just enough gap, and he kind of gathered it up and kept going on, and then got the inside line, and they had a bit of a kerfuffle down the hairpin.
Again, the hairpin again is the action area. Julian Schell, by the way, in the blue Pegasus Racing Ligier, has had a slow lap, and that's halted his charge to the front. Meantime, the 187 and the 109, they're battling for position as well, I think. Certainly in the same category, because they've got the same first number. So that's Koopman and Dan Mayer as well battling. So the kidney grills, and whether they are products of Munich or not, there's plenty of action through the track, and it would appear that the number 191, Peter Posovic, has won that one. Actually, I think he might have put a lap on the other guys. He's leading GT. He's second rather in GT, isn't he, Peter?
Yeah. Myers lost a lap due to all the kerfuffle of changing tyres left, right and centre.
Yes, good point. I'd forgotten about that. So, a minute to go. And
blimey, really?
Yeah, I know. Where's that hour in our life gone? Completely disappeared. It's a good leader already into turn one as the second place car comes across the line. Now, who did we put in to finish that? Was that Steve Van Bellingen in that car?
Yeah, Steve, yeah.
Steve Van Bellingen, Del Dice Racing.
It's always a bit of a squeeze your backside in when you go through the Nord curve. No.
It's the Hammers Plaza car, the Fibo Racing Run 245. Hardest Plaza, the Vanderberg family outing. That car, I do like that dark, very sanguine colour, isn't it? Blood red with the black on it. We have a smoky BMW, and that's at turn number 6, just out of the hairpin. I'm not sure which of the Vandenbergs. Well, you'll know that, Nick. You've got the starting drivers. Which of the Vandenbergs finished it?
5 started with Robert, so it's therefore in it now is Benjamin.
Right. Oh, what a shame. What a shame for the Hardest Plaza car. However, on the last lap now, Steve Van Bellingen continues the good work that his teammate Tim Dewson started. I think Tim put the fastest lap of the race in earlier on as well. And I don't think that's been better. That was a 142 flat. 143.0 last time around for Steve. So he's not hanging about. Last lap board is out for the last car to go through. And here comes the leader. Here comes the winner. As they now are Del Dice Racing. Another victory, but this time for the 621 car. After problems very early on for Tom Boonen, who barely got 6 laps under his belt before having to call it a day. So a double for Del Dice, but the two cars sharing the honours in the two races here at the Hockenheimring. Julian Schell yet to come across the line, and he's really struggled at the end there and dropped back 30 seconds. He was as close as, 12 seconds at one stage. And the last couple of laps have been really problematical for the Pegasus Racing LMP3 Ligier. Third, Bob Herbert takes the GT category. SSP run by Bart Aronson for Koopman. S is run by Trax Racing in the 401. And a fabulous weekend. Spa-Francorchamps, the next time out. Early weekend in June, 4, 5 and 6. That's the third round of the 2021 Supercar Challenge, powered by Hankook. Nick Damon and John Hindhaugh saying thanks for joining us, and stay with us for Johnny Palmer, Joe Bradley and Ben Constanduris for the Creventic 12 hours, the Hankook 12 hours of the Hockenheimring, coming up shortly.